This is the Yandy Project Podcast, episode number 5. Welcome, everybody, to the Yandy Project Podcast. Our focus is on inspirational stories, tools, and tips for those 50 and over. I am your host, Nadine O, and today we are joined again by author Tom Hickey.
They call a little room that I'm in, they call it, one of my daughters called it a monastic cell, because I'm here alone, it's a solitude. And,
Yes.
And so these are, once a month I write something called musings from the monastic cell. And I just tell some stories about, well, the fact that right now, outside the back spacious lawn that my son has, and looking at from the deck, deer are coming out.
Mm-hmm.
And so I tell about that, and I tell about what's happening to it. And the trees are dropping the acorns, and so the deer are coming in to eat the got off the acorns, of course. And that sort of thing, I write that. Plus, what's happening in the family. Somebody got engaged, or somebody, one granddaughter, for example, my brother's daughter, she's becoming an NMD now.
Wow.
She won an award in her medical school. And then of course, and these opportunities to write just seem to pop up. I don't seek them out. They just come and seek me.
Yes, you're being called.
And just as an example, my daughter-in-law, my son Bill's wife, just left her job that she had for some time in a college, and she went on her own. She does counseling and spiritual direction.
Wow.
In a healing center.
Huh.
And she interviews people and helps them out. It's really what she does. And then that gave her time to, she said she has wanted to write stuff. Now this is an opportunity, and here's what she did. She set it all up about, every month now I get a little saying of some sort, and I'm supposed to write something on it, and then she will write something on it also. And that's just an example.
Well, that's...
What I'm dealing with now is that this theme is, you cannot have a positive life and a negative mind. You cannot have a positive life and a negative mind. And so I'm supposed to write a page or two on that. And that's the sort of thing that, and so it's fun. You know, it takes a little bit of doing.
Well, you know...
That's one idea that keeps me going, plus the musings every month. But here's what happened, and this is what I'm really doing with right now, Nadine.
Well, you know what?
During the visit of Pope Francis, my son Bill is a deacon in the Catholic Church.
Okay.
So he works also at the same time, but this is he's an ordained a deacon, has been for many years now, and suddenly with Pope Francis coming here in the Philadelphia area, the archdiocese chose a deacon that would serve mass with the Pope, and here enough, it turned out to be my son Bill.
Wow.
Bill was right at the Pope's elbow during the entire Mass. And,
really?
It's a really big deal. The family went crazy about it, really bit. And he served the Pope for the entire Mass.
Wow.
And, wow is right. It was. So anyway, we had a couple of daughters were watching it on TV, and they were taking pictures of him every time Deacon Bill showed up and had a picture. They took pictures of that. And I thought it would be an interesting thing if I would write what would amount to be the text for all those pictures that they were taking, and somehow we could get that to the whole family a little later on. So that's what I'm doing at the moment, doing some research as to what happened not only during the Mass but prior to the Mass, and Bill's reaction to as he did at one time when he had to throw the incense to offer that to all of the people.
Sure.
First of all, you use the incense on the Pope himself, and then you turn to the people, and as he turned, he's looking at that entire parkway was jammed with people, 250,000 people, as a conservative estimate. And I asked Bill about that. He said, well, was he concerned about that? I'd be scared to death with that all those people. He said no. He said he was focusing on City Hall from the Art Museum.
Wow.
Section,
Yes.
all the way down over the heads of all of these people, just focusing on City Hall to give himself some idea of perspective. So anyway, hearing that from Bill, I thought, well, I'd like to write a little story about this, his whole experience there, and somehow get the pictures in. And we'll make a nice little story out of it for the family.
Yeah, that sounds exciting.
Yeah, it's working, research, which I've been doing, and seeing what the newspapers said about it, and then now I'll be interviewing Bill periodically to find out what his thinking was, and each little thing. And incidentally, he ultimately, like Nadine, this is funny. We're watching the whole thing on television,
right?
And it takes time where the Pope turns and to get their peace to everybody, and the whole crowd, they all turn around, they're shaking hands, of course, with each other.
Right.
And we're thinking, no. We're telling the camera people, come on, get away from those people. Let's see what's happening to Bill. And then, very fortunately, just at the very last second, the camera switched around, and there was Bill with his arm on the Pope, and the Pope on giving him a little blessing at the same time. And there was, and there's Bill being hugged by the Pope. It's pretty unusual. Just to preserve this as a memory for Bill and for Bill's family and all of our family.
That was a great blessing for you and your family, and I think it's going to be an awesome book, and I can't wait to read it.
Well, if I leave it up to Joaquin is a marvelous guy, incidentally. He encourages me. But and he said now he does not edit the book, incidentally, any of the books. He doesn't get some ideas and some thoughts.
Sure.
But he said, no, Tom, look, you're writing it now. But he encourages me. He gets me going, and I think to myself, having written one and then two, and God, leave me alone now. Will you just let me Joe? And he won't. He'll be after me to do something for 2013, 14, and 15. So he'll be after me to
keep writing. Keep writing. Well,
Frank Friel's the same. Do I understand you know Frank Friel?
Yes, I do. And actually, I interviewed him as well. Now, here's a side note. I met Frank Friel at a local diner in Drexel Hill. called Ming's Coffee and Tea. And I struck up a conversation with him, and time passed, and he said, hey, why don't you come with me, go to the gym. I'll teach you how to hit the speed bag. And I had taken martial arts before and done a little bit of kickboxing, so it was fun until they closed the gym down.
Yes, he knew kickboxing. He managed a couple of kickboxers for a while. Frank Field is a unique and wonderful guy, you know.
Yes, he is.
He worked with me, of course, when I was with Scepter.
That's right. And Joaquin. And Joaquin, the three of you. And so it's just from one conversation talking to Frank, I met Joaquin, and now I'm speaking with you. And I just think you just never know what's going to happen from just saying hello. And yes, I'm sorry. And the amazing stories that each of us carry, including you. I just think it's just so wonderful. And the other thing is, and I hope that those listening realize that everyone needs a Joaquin, you know, like your Joaquin, that kind of pushes you to write that next book and supports you in continuing to feed the muse, since, you know, just bring it out. Bring whatever stories you have, what sparks your interest and supports you. And more people entering retirement, about to retire, in retirement, or even children and young adults need and should have someone that says you can do it.
Oh, absolutely. Nadine, that's absolutely true. You need a mentor, and I never had one. And until Joaquin, just by accident, he came and interviewed me for a story he was doing of his own. Mm-hmm. And then Joaquin, what would you like to do? And I told him, well, one thing is I like to write a little story about my life in India, my year in India. And he said, well, go and do it. And, except for Joaquin, I would never have done it, you know. But he just gave me a target. But believe it or not, I exceeded the target date by a couple of weeks, and I got it done. And then the next thing he said, now do something else. And I told him, which I did about the depression. Yes. So what else you want to do? I said, well, and then he gave me the business about 10 lessons that I learned in my 100 years. Do that. So, and then, you're absolutely right, Nadine. In order to get you going, get you started, you need someone who sort of pushes you and providing, obviously, it's I have a granddaughter that has a beautiful voice, mm-hmm. but she doesn't have anyone who's pushing her anymore. Sure. And she sings at weddings and mm-hmm. so forth, but she needs someone to get hold of her, say, all right, now do this and do that, mm-hmm. and so I agree with fully to you, Nadine. That you do need an energizer, I guess would be the word.
An energizer, yes. Yes, you are correct about that. You do need an energizer. But I tell you, even just saying you can do it, there's more. There's another song in you. There's another book in you. You put it to paper, write it down.
There is another song in me, another story in me. Sure. And you don't even think about it until until you've given me that idea.
Sure.
There's another story on you. Well, yeah, go ahead and write it now. That's the important thing.
Yeah, and so, which brings me full circle to the fact that I wanted to do this podcast, just pretty much to just remind people you are not done yet. There's more in you. There's more that you could be doing. It seems very small. Oh, I'll just write a poem or whatever. But that poem has life from your thought to putting it to the pen or typing it out in a computer. And it touches other people's. Those words are your words. That sound is your sound. That stroke from a brush on canvas is it comes from you. And I just hope that anyone listening knows that they can do it. Just do it. Don't worry about it being perfect. Don't worry about what other people will say. It's up to you to take the first step. And just looking at where you are right now, it's inspiring. Because most people think, oh my goodness, I'm reaching retirement. Oh, my life's over. And there's just so much more you can do. And
no question about it. In fact, in a sense, your life is just sort of beginning because you're beginning to realize what's available, and you realize what you can actually do that you weren't sure you could. Nadine, let me give you just an example.
Sure.
In the back of my book, if you happen to have the book handy.
Okay, Surviving the Great Depression?
No, this would be the book about 10 lessons I learned.
Okay, I'm sorry. I do not have that one.
All right, well, in the back,
sure.
In the very back of the book, Joaquin's wife, Mary Ann, did some paintings, some drawings. And within this, there's a book, there's a poem by me. I'm not a poet, but I just happened to be sitting at the deck having breakfast one morning, and I thought these thoughts.
Will you read it to us?
And wrote a poem about it. And so, without boring you with it, I just want to say that to confirm what you were talking about, that just a thought, just an idea that came to you, and you jot it down and do it. And you sort of surprise yourself as to what you're able to do. For example, here's a poem about it's hard to hear the silence of the morning in the glen, but the mind forces you to hear ever so slightly. It's hard to hear the silence of the morning in the glen, but the mind forces you to hear ever so slightly a bluebird in the bird bath, and a far red-bellied woodpecker, or a chickadee chirping, and away above a plane descending, coming home, which are sounds that were actually, if you listen, you can hear those.
I can definitely, yes.
Well, anyway, that's what I'm saying is that now, Nadine, where all that came from, I don't have any idea.
But
I'm just sitting here, and it just popped out. That's things that were, the muse took over.
The muse. And there's nothing wrong with that.
It wrote itself.
Yes.
Well, anyway,
and that was just one moment. And as you were reading that, I can imagine sitting out there on the deck with you, and that's happening. And I think that's something we are missing because we're so busy, at least I would say, still out there in the workforce, trying to get everything done in a day, feeling like there are not enough hours in a day, rushing but not experiencing that moment. And I really do try to take a moment to breathe and pay attention to what's going on. But it is easy to get lost in the next thing I have to do, instead of just doing what I'm doing, whether it's sitting and having coffee or walking to the store and just enjoying the walk. And I think that we need to remind ourselves and remind others, just enjoy the moment, because it's not promised to us. And
yes, and above all, now, if you're talking to retirees, you may well be. You're right. You're not done yet. It's not all over. In fact, it's just
beginning.
It's just starting, because now you have a little bit of time.
Yes.
You're not burdened down with 24/7 work, and
sure.
You have a little bit of time, and so put your mind to work, and let it go.
And let it go. Yes.
Things will come to you. Just let it go. As some say, open the door. Let God in. Some of the religious people say.
Nothing wrong with that. God has many names, but that just the fact, the spirit of letting the Spirit of God in, and across the board, and not to get religious, most religions, God is love, and it's letting that love in and not closing yourself off to what gifts that still can come your way. And I just think that's great. Open the door and let God in. Yeah. Well, Tom, we're going to come to a close with our interview. I want to thank you so much for joining me on my journey and the journey of those listeners with the Yandy Project in this podcast. You are not done yet. I hope you will come again. I hope you will join us again with your next book.
Cut it out now. Cut it. Give me a little week.
or
See, you're doing what Joaquin does. You shouldn't do that, Nadine. Incidentally, I'm going to call Joaquin immediately afterwards and just let him know that I talked to you, because he's been asking me so often.
Yes, yeah, I'm really excited, and I'm gonna talk to him soon enough. I wish you all the best today.
Thank you.
And enjoy the birds, because I know that soon you will be going out to sit on the deck and enjoy.
Yes, I will.
And
yes, I will.
And I just wish you well, and I just thank you so much.
Thank you, Nadine, very much, and thank you for your interest. I think what you're doing is marvelous.
Thank you.
And I hope you're stimulating some people who might be sort of giving up, but well, you don't give up.
Yes,
you're not done yet, isn't that what it is?
You are not done yet. You are not done yet. Yes.
That's wonderful.
If I just touch one person, I've done my work.
That's a perfect idea.
Like what you hear? Just trek over to our website at yandyproject.com. You can leave a comment there. We'd love to hear from you. And whatever you do, subscribe so you can stay informed on the latest posts and updates of our podcast. See you there.